If a global crisis hit tomorrow, most Americans would not reach for a brand new gun. They would reach for something old, proven, and already sitting in millions of homes. History shows the same handful of firearms keep showing up in soldiers' hands, survivalists' kits, and family gun safes decade after decade. Not because they are flashy, because they work when nothing else does. In this video, we are counting down 8 firearms that earned their reputation the hard way. Number 8 is the Ruger 1022, and it earns a spot on this list for a reason most people overlook. When people picture a crisis, they picture a battle rifle. But real survival situations involve more pest control, small game hunting, and basic training than gunfights. The Ruger 1022 came out in 1964, built by Bill Ruger and engineer Harry Seafried, and it sold for about $54 at launch. Since then, over 7 million have been made, making it the best-selling semi-automatic rimfire rifle in American history. What makes it valuable in a long-term crisis is not stopping power. It is .22 long rifle ammunition, which is small, light, and incredibly common. A single ammo can hold thousands of rounds that weigh almost nothing compared to centerfire ammunition. The rifle itself uses a simple blowback action with very few moving parts, so cleaning it takes minutes, not tools and manuals. It also has almost no recoil, which makes it ideal for teaching new shooters, including kids and spouses who have never held a firearm before. In an extended emergency, the 1022 is the gun families use to put small game on the table and to practice marksmanship without burning through expensive ammunition. It will not win a firefight, but it solves a problem most preparedness videos ignore completely: food and training. That practical, unglamorous role is exactly why so many gun owners already have one tucked away, often without realizing how useful it could become. The rifle's V-block barrel system also lets owners swap barrels in minutes without gunsmith tools, which is part of why an entire aftermarket industry grew up around it, building everything from takedown stocks to match-grade barrels for a rifle that started out as a simple companion to Ruger's .44 Magnum carbine. Number 7. Remington 870. Number 7 is the Remington 870, a pump-action shotgun that has earned a reputation few other guns can match. Remington introduced the 870 in 1950. And it has been in continuous production ever since, with more than 11 million sold. That makes it the best-selling shotgun of any type in firearm history. Part of the reason is simple engineering. The 870 uses a milled steel receiver and dual action bars, which means the pump motion stays smooth even after thousands of cycles and years of rough handling. Hunters carry it through swamps and snow. Police departments and security teams have relied on it for decades because it almost never jams, even when dirty or poorly maintained. What makes the 870 valuable in a crisis is its flexibility. The same shotgun can fire birdshot for small game, buckshot for defense, and slugs for larger animals or longer range accuracy, all without changing the gun itself, only the ammunition. Shotgun shells are also widely available, because hunters across the country use the same basic gauges every season. So 12-gauge ammunition rarely disappears from store shelves the way specialty rifle calibers sometimes do. The 870 is also mechanically simple enough that a homeowner can field strip it on a kitchen table without special tools. For a single firearm that can handle hunting, pest control, and home defense, the 870's 75-year track record speaks for itself. Remington built more than 15 different versions in the first year alone, from the hunting-focused Wingmaster to the lower-cost Express. And that range of options is part of why the 870 ended up in farmhouses, patrol cars, and duck blinds all across the country at the same time. Number 6. Mosin-Nagant. Number 6 is the Mosin-Nagant, a rifle most Americans only recognize from history documentaries, but one that remains surprisingly practical today. Designed by Russian Captain Sergei Mosin and Belgian engineer Leon Nagant, It was adopted by the Russian military in 1891. Over the next several decades, factories in Russia and the Soviet Union alone produced an estimated 37 million of them, making it the most manufactured bolt-action rifle in history. It served through the Russo-Japanese War, both world wars, and the brutal urban fighting at Stalingrad, where Soviet snipers like Vasily Zaitsev used modified versions to devastating effect. So why does a 19th century rifle belong on a modern preparedness list? Because millions of surplus Mosin-Nagants were imported into the United States over the decades, and they remain some of the most affordable, durable centerfire rifles a person can own. The bolt-action design has very few parts that can break, and because it was built to survive Russian winters, it tolerates dirt, cold, and rough treatment that would jam more delicate modern rifles. Its 7.62 by 54R cartridge hits hard enough for medium to large game and was mass-produced for nearly a century, so surplus ammunition, while less common than it once was, is still findable. It will never be lightweight or modern feeling. But as a backup rifle that costs a fraction of newer options, the Mosin-Nagant still earns its place in a lot of American gun safes. Even Finnish forces, who fought Soviet troops during the brutal Winter War of 1939, used captured and locally produced Mosin-Nagants of their own, and some German snipers later in the war reportedly preferred captured Mosins over their own Mauser rifles, a strange twist for a gun most people now think of as outdated. Number 5. M1 Garand. Number 5 is the M1 Garand, a rifle that General George Patton once called the greatest battle implement ever devised. Designed by John Garand at Springfield Armory, it was officially adopted by the United States Army in 1936, becoming the first semi-automatic rifle issued broadly to any nation's infantry. During World War II, Springfield Armory and Winchester together produced more than 4 million Garands, with total all-time production eventually reaching roughly 5.4 million rifles. At its peak in January 1944, Springfield alone built over 122,000 rifles in a single month, more than 3,900 rifles a day. The Garand carried American soldiers through North Africa, the Pacific Islands, and the beaches of Normandy, giving them a faster rate of fire than the bolt-action rifles many enemy soldiers still carried. What earns it a spot today is its chambering in the powerful .30-06 cartridge. A round still produced widely for hunting rifles across the country, meaning ammunition has never truly disappeared from shelves. The rifle's on-block clip system, which ejects with a distinctive metallic ping after the last round fires, is sometimes criticized, but in practice it makes reloading fast and simple under stress. Garands also remain available through programs like the Civilian Marksmanship Program, which sells surplus rifles to eligible buyers at reasonable prices. For a weapon nearly 90 years old, the fact that it is still legally purchasable, still chambered in a common cartridge, and still mechanically sound after decades of storage says everything about how it was built. Production did not even stop after World War II. International Harvester, a company better known for tractors and farm equipment, built more than 337,000 additional Garands between 1952 and 1956, proving the design was simple enough to be manufactured well outside the traditional firearms industry. Number 4. M19111. Number 4 is the M19111, the pistol that John Moses Browning designed and the United States Army officially adopted on March 29, 1911. Before it entered service, Browning personally supervised a torture test where a single pistol fired 6,000 rounds over 2 days without a single jam, growing so hot that soldiers had to dunk it in a bucket of water between strings of fire. That kind of reliability is why the 1911 stayed in U.S. military service for more than 70 years, carried through both World Wars, Korea, and Vietnam, before finally being phased out in the 1980s. Its design uses a short recoil system that was so effective competitors could not match it for decades, and the basic mechanics have barely changed since the original patent. What makes the 1911 worth understanding today is the .45 ACP cartridge it fires. It is a heavy, slow-moving round that has remained popular with hunters, competition shooters, and self-defense owners for over a century, which means ammunition and magazines are still produced by dozens of manufacturers. The pistol is also simple enough mechanically that a shooter with basic knowledge can field strip and clean it in a few minutes using just their hands. While modern polymer pistols have largely replaced it in police and military holsters, the 1911's combination of stopping power, proven reliability, and century-long manufacturing history is exactly the kind of track record that matters when nothing about the future is guaranteed. Its first real combat test came in 1916 when American cavalry troops carried it into Mexico during the Pancho Villa expedition, a mission that also gave a young lieutenant named George Patton his first taste of combat, years before he would go on to praise a different rifle on this very list. Number 3. AK-47. Number 3 is the AK-47, arguably the most recognizable rifle on Earth. Designed by Mikhail Kalashnikov and officially adopted by Soviet forces in 1949, it was built around a simple idea: the rifle had to keep firing no matter how badly it was treated. Estimates suggest around 100 million AK pattern rifles have been produced worldwide, manufactured legally and illegally in more than 30 countries. That scale alone makes it the most produced firearm in human history. The reason it earned that reputation has nothing to do with accuracy or comfort. The AK-47 uses a long stroke gas piston and wide tolerances between its moving parts, which means sand, mud, rust, and years of neglect rarely stop it from cycling. Soldiers in jungles, deserts, and Arctic conditions have relied on the same basic design for over 70 years because it keeps functioning when more precise rifles fail. Its 7.62 by 39 mm cartridge was also built for mass production, which is part of why ammunition for it remains some of the most widely available and affordable centerfire rifle ammunition in the world. In the United States, semi-automatic AK pattern rifles are legal to own in most states and are manufactured both domestically and through imports from countries like Bulgaria, Romania, and Poland. For anyone who values a weapon that keeps working under conditions that would jam more delicate designs, the AK-47's 7-decade track record is hard to argue with. Early production models from the late 1940s and early 1950s actually had more quality control issues than people realize. And it took years of refinement, along with the switch to a cheaper stamped steel receiver in the upgraded AKM version, before the rifle became the dependable workhorse most people picture today. Number 2. Glock 17. Number 2 is the Glock 17, a pistol that changed the entire handgun industry despite being designed by a man who had never built a firearm before. Gaston Glock was an Austrian engineer with a background in polymer manufacturing when he entered Austria's 1982 military pistol trials. His design beat out established companies like Heckler & Koch, Beretta, Sig Sauer, and Steyr, earning an initial Austrian army order of 25,000 units. What made it different was its polymer frame, which made it lighter than steel-framed competitors, and its striker-fired design, which used fewer internal parts that could wear out or break. Today, more than 20 million Glocks have been produced worldwide, and roughly 65% of law enforcement agencies in the United States carry one as their duty sidearm. That widespread police and military use matters for civilians too, because it means replacement parts, magazines, and accessories are produced constantly and sold everywhere, from small gun shops to major retailers. The Glock 17 fires the 9mm parabellum round, which is the most common handgun cartridge manufactured in the world, making ammunition both affordable and easy to find compared to less common calibers. Maintenance is minimal. The pistol can be field stripped without tools in under a minute, and its simple design means fewer parts that can fail from dirt or neglect. For a firearm built on the idea of doing more with less, The Glock 17's 4-decade dominance of police holsters worldwide tells you everything about how well that idea worked. After the Austrian army adopted it, the Glock 17 passed NATO's demanding durability testing in 1984, which led Norway, Sweden, and the Netherlands to adopt it soon after. And by the time Glock opened its American headquarters in Smyrna, Georgia in 1985, the pistol was already on its way to becoming a global standard rather than just an Austrian success story. Number 1. AR-15. Number 1 is the AR-15, the most owned rifle platform in the United States today. It began as Eugene Stoner's design at Armalite in the late 1950s, was sold to Colt in 1959, and was eventually adopted by the U.S. military as the M16. The civilian semi-automatic version kept the AR-15 name and has gone on to become what the firearms industry calls the modern sporting rifle. According to the most recent National Shooting Sports Foundation production data, which uses ATF manufacturing and export records through 2023, more than 32 million AR pattern rifles are currently in circulation across the country, a figure that has more than doubled since 2020. The reason it sits at the top of this list comes down to 3 things: modularity, ammunition, and parts availability. The AR-15 platform allows owners to swap barrels, stocks, optics, and internal components using widely available tools, which means a single rifle can be adjusted for hunting, target shooting, or home defense without buying a new gun. Its standard chambering, the 5.56 by 45 mm and .223 Remington round, is one of the most commonly manufactured rifle cartridges in the country, produced by dozens of companies at prices lower than most other centerfire options. Because so many manufacturers build compatible parts, a damaged AR-15 can often be repaired with components bought from almost any gun shop in America, something few other rifles on this list can claim. That combination of huge ownership numbers, common ammunition, and an enormous parts ecosystem is exactly why the AR-15 earns the top spot. To put the scale in perspective, the firearm industry has pointed out that there are now more AR pattern rifles in private hands than there are Ford F-Series pickup trucks on American roads, and the F-Series has been the best-selling vehicle in the country for decades. That single comparison says a lot about how deeply this rifle has settled into everyday American life, far beyond anything related to war or crisis. Conclusion: those are 8 firearms that earned their reputation through decades of hard use, not hype. But it is worth being honest about what a gun actually does and does not do. A firearm does not produce clean water. It does not treat an infection, store food, or charge a radio. Every credible emergency planning guide, from FEMA to the Red Cross, puts food, water, medicine, communication, and a clear family plan ahead of any weapon on the list. A gun without training is also far more dangerous to its owner than helpful. So anyone who buys one of these firearms should also invest time in proper instruction, whether through a certified course or a knowledgeable friend or family member. Responsible ownership also means responsible storage. Organizations like Project ChildSafe have distributed more than 41 million free firearm safety kits since 1999, specifically because unsecured guns create risks that have nothing to do with crisis preparedness and everything to do with everyday accidents. Most public health data shows the majority of gun-owning households already store their firearms unloaded and separate from ammunition. And that habit should not change just because a person is thinking about long-term emergencies.